Talking with the experts.
In episode 349, Daphne Wells and I discuss the magic with a K formula for sustainable success.
So magic with a K is magic with a C we kind of think of as pulling rabbits out of hats, right? Magic with a K to me is when you are in tune with your intuition, your inner guidance system, your inner wisdom, whatever you want to call that, however you have your relationship with that, and that you're listening to it, that you're listening to the spiritual side of your being, because we are not just the physical bodies we run around in. And as a child, I was very intuitive, and it was squashed. I would share these magical things that I'd, been told, been shown, and it was squashed. And now, through adulthood, I've come more into it. And now, I trust it implicitly.
Welcome to Talking with the Experts. This is where we discuss great ideas to take your business to the next level. How do we know these ideas work? Well, it's because we're talking with business owners who are using these ideas. Business owners who have years of experience and expertise. All things business by business owners for business owners. And now, here is your host, Rose Davidson.
Hello and welcome to Talking with the Experts. I'm your host, Rose Davidson from rosedavidson.com. Talking with the Experts is about all things business by business owners for business owners. You can find it on all good podcasting streaming platforms and on YouTube. Now, let me ask you, as a business owner, do you want to be successful? Well, a lot of people don't. But my next guest, Daphne Wells, is going to share with us her success formula, which is very simple and very effective. Now, Daphne helps soul-led visionary leaders feel safe, solid, secure to share their magic with the world and make more money with ease and flow. As a professionally certified and credentialed numerologist and intuitive success and mental fitness coach, Daphne delivers insanely powerful insights that give you radical permission to show up in your power and fulfill your purpose in the world. Through her life-changing coaching, inner circles, energy readings and forecasts, her book, Decide, Choose Your Own Path, she's here to shake up your approach to business and life. When she's not inspiriting women around the globe to make more money in record time, you'll find Daphne creating magic with fabric and threads, getting her hands dirty, growing what she eats, or frolicking in the waves. Welcome, Daphne. Thank you so much for being here today, all the way from New Zealand.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, Rose.
So tell me, how did you get into magic with a K, not magic with a C?
So magic with a K is magic with a C we kind of think of as pulling rabbits out of hats, right? Magic with a K to me is when you are in tune with your intuition, your inner guidance system, your inner wisdom, whatever you want to call that, however you have your relationship with that, and that you're listening to it, that you're listening to the spiritual side of your being, because we are not just the physical bodies we run around in. And as a child, I was very intuitive, and it was squashed. I would share these magical things that I'd, been told, been shown, and it was squashed. And now, through adulthood, I've come more into it. And now, I trust it implicitly.
I love magic. I love, I'm a great believer in the Wicca philosophy. I love it because, they worship nature, and I love nature. And I don't get out in it as often as I should, but I love just to go outside and go barefoot in the grass, and it makes me feel so much better. Just getting squishy.
And, for me, getting my hands dirty. Like, if I'm not home and I can't get into my garden, at least at the weekends, I will actually go wherever I am and play in the dirt, because it's just so grounding and healing. And I feel very blessed to live where I do, because I'm a few minutes walk from the beach. And so every morning I'm walking on the beach rather than walking on the pavement. And
Lovely.
it's
Now,
just,
how did you get into numerology? Because numerology is a science really unto itself.
it is a science. And the magic for me is that I have always been a numbers girl, right? You know, as a child, maths was easy for me. And I was encouraged at high school to go into accounting, which was kind of, you know, back then there were limited opportunities for what you could do when you left school. And I saw that as not being creative enough for me. And so now numerology is, as you say, the science of numbers. And once we do all the calculations, it then becomes I can bring my intuition into the play and mix the seen and the unseen. So I got into numerology. I was just really curious. I'd taken lots of personality quizzes through the years. And when I got the answers, you know, telling me I was this, that, or the next thing, I was like, really? And what if I'd answered the questions differently? So me being the maverick rebel that I am, went back into some of them and re-answered the questions from a different perspective and got a completely different answer. So numerology, of course, is calculated from just your date of birth, nothing else. And there's so many layers to it. You can go deep and get so much information about yourself and the energy that the universe provides you with to help you through your life journey. And for me, that was like, I felt like I'd come home. I could finally use my number skills. I wasn't second guessing the answers because I couldn't. It was mathematically calculated from my date of birth. And so I got really intrigued and just wanted to know how to do it and how to share it. And it's really created this safe container for my clients as well. You know, that because it's all calculated, because it's a science and the alchemy are coming together, it really is a safe space to help people in, from my perspective.
Yeah, I love numerology. I love what numbers have to say about your life, and it's an amazing I don't know, way to live life. I mean, I don't live my life totally by the numbers, and you know, I do a lot of other things like tarot and all that, because I do love those as well. So how can numerology help businesses?
How can numerology help businesses? Well, because numerology can tell you, inform you the energy of your ideal client. You know, we trial and error that till the cows come home.
Yes.
Trying to get it right. And yet with numerology, we can calculate that. Numerology can inform your business model. What's going to align for you energetically.
Interesting.
And when we try to do things a way that isn't aligned for us, it doesn't work. It's not sustainable.
Yes, I can relate to that totally.
Yeah. we can try somebody else's, you know, methodology, their step-by-step process, and yet if it's not aligned for us, which it probably isn't, because it's aligned for the person who's had success using it, we can't do it forever.
Yeah, as a child, I always wanted to be a teacher. And I actually interviewed someone a couple of weeks ago, and they said, well, you are teaching people, Rose, with your podcast. And I thought, no, it wasn't. And I also wanted to be an actress. And she said, yeah, well, you're doing both things. Yeah, you know, you're in front of the camera. It doesn't mean that you're not acting a part, but you're still in front of the camera and you're still teaching people things. And I thought, yeah, I hadn't thought of it in that context, but she was quite right.
She was. And if we went into your numerology, we would find that there was teacher energy in there, sharer of knowledge, giver of knowledge type energy in there, probably, because otherwise, as a child, you wouldn't have had that intense desire to be a teacher. And this is what I mean by the energy of your ideal client. We draw that out in the energy of you as a person. And then when I work with clients, we draw out their energy, we calculate their energy, and intuit it. And then we can apply that to their skill set and where their interests are and come up with this magical mix that becomes their business model.
That sounds really interesting. Tell me about your book, Decide, Choose Your Own Path.
That came about partly as a result of my history. So I was in toxic, abusive relationships. And part of my journey out of that was I didn't know who I was after that because I'd been controlled forever. And so part of that was me learning how to make decisions that were right for me and being able to commit to them. And so, and it also was the way that the process that I'd taken a lot of clients through. So that book is a do-it-yourself way to make empowered, effective decisions. It's kind of a do-it-yourself way of creating a life and a business for you. Obviously, without the magic of numerology, because that requires, one-on-one work with me. So I wrote that years ago and initially was sparked because I was invited to speak at a conference where all of the other speakers had books to sell and I didn't. And I'd kind of been being told for years, you need to write a book, So I pulled it all together.
Oh, well done. Yeah. So where can they find the book if they want to grab a copy?
So the book, if they want to grab a copy, you want to buy it at your retailer of choice, depending on where you are in the world. So I've popped a page on my website at daphnewells.com, and it's just, book at the top, or Decide, Choose Your Own Path. I actually can't remember, but anyway, there's a page there on my website that will take you with links to your retailer of choice, whether it's Book Depository for me in New Zealand is the easiest way to purchase it, whether it's Amazon, because you're in North America, or whether you want a Kindle, that's there as well. So, yeah.
Wonderful. Okay. Well, there you go, people. Go over to daphnewells.com and get a copy of her book. So in someone's business life, once they've worked out what the numbers mean and everything, how can that be, a benefit to, manifest more money?
Because that will determine how you run your business. It will determine how you want to work with people. It will determine how you put your message out there in the world. It informs it all. And so that's the energy part of that magical formula for sustained success, is that you're bringing your energy into it. That's the unseen aspects that we bring in. And it becomes like a framework that you can then build your business and your life on. For you as a teacher with teacher energy, I'm guessing that's in your energy somewhere because of what you shared before. You will then want an outlet for that in your business, right? So that informs it, and it becomes like, if you're headed in that direction, then everything is aligned. Once we get that really clear for you, are you a giver of knowledge and love? You could well be. And so that energy then because we bring to the party a structure, right? All of our systems and processes, and they need to be aligned as well with our energy. That energy is actually more important than the physical things, the systems and processes, because your energy determines so much of what you do. They reckon that about 10% of what we do is determined by the physical things we do, and the rest by the energy that we bring to the party.
Okay, makes sense.
And so when you get that piece grounded, you can bring in all these other things that you want to do, as long as they're aligned, and it will work. So
how deep do you dive into the numbers?
So that depends on how you how you want it, really. I mean, you can have a one-off reading, and that goes so deep, right? If you work with me one-on-one or in my Extraordinary Leaders Circle, which is my mastermind, we go deep.
How deep is deep?
How deep is deep? So you're using Pythagorean numerology. You get a birth code, which is a number, right? And then under that, you have seasons that you live through in your life. You have an energy grid that determines lots about you. And that gives us lots of layers of information. And then you also have a birth card. So the ordinary pack of playing cards, what has been around for gazillions of years. They're out there, and it was the original calendar, right? So depending on the day you are born, you will have a birth card, and depending on the year you were born, that determines the energy that you have for that year, for that portion of the year. So we go through cycles of energy, particularly determined by our birth card, and they interplay with each other and roll over through our life. And it really, when you can feel into the energy that's coming for you and that is available for you, it really informs how you can go out there in the world.
Makes sense. And that is quite deep, really, isn't it? To have all these different facets of, numbers and readings and plans that, you didn't know that you had.
Yeah. And you can get answers to any question you have. So a few months ago, I had an old injury pop up from years ago, popped up out of the blue, and I was really flummoxed. I didn't remember hurting my knee. I didn't remember tweaking it or anything. And I couldn't figure it out. So the message I got was that I needed to go back and heal the trauma that was occurring in my life when that injury first occurred decades ago, when I didn't know that you needed to do that kind of stuff, right? And it took longer than I was kind of annoyed, if I'm honest, because there was a whole heap of stuff that I had committed to doing that I couldn't do. When I looked into my numerology for the year, I was like, oh, this is why it's happening. Because it was going to get me to my result for the year. So if you imagine each year we live and each cycle that we go through in life, we kind of have a goal, if you like, on our life path that, ideally we want to get to, right? So that we continue growing and evolving. And that I could see was going to get me to where I was meant to be by a certain stage, by my birthday, right?
Okay.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because so your birth code, the number, the Pythagorean one, I believe is your personality. It's the lens that you see the world through. It's how you operate in the world. Your birth card is like the job description that you agreed to before you incarnated in this lifetime. So it's part of your soul's journey that you came here for this purpose in this lifetime. And so given that, there are steps along the way, right? That are each cycle that you go through in that journey through life.
Wow, that is so intriguing. I didn't realize numerology was that deep.
Not many people do. People go, like I did years ago, if I'm honest, and look online and see, oh, I'm this. And you read all the stuff online. And honestly, I just found that overwhelming because I didn't understand how lots of it related to me and where I was. And that's where, having a reading with a numerologist who can intuit that information for where you are actually at and what applies to you, given the other layers in your chart. Yeah, it's There are just so many layers. You can just keep going deeper and deeper, if I'm honest.
Wow. No, it's absolutely fascinating.
And that's not very accessible to people at the moment unless they come through a numerologist. Yeah. In
Yeah, I think
fact,
you'd have to be careful about who you chose as well, because wouldn't different numerologists interpret things differently?
perhaps. And that's where, even when you're selecting a coach, you need to be choosing one that's aligned for you, that's a good fit. And same with a numerologist to work with at that level. Yeah.
Good point. Good point. Daphne, where can people find you if they'd like to know more or to work with you?
So the easiest place is my website, daphnewells.com. There's a link on there where you can message me or book a free call, which I'm happy to do to answer any questions that anyone has as a result of what they've heard today. Yeah.
Good.
And spoiler alert about the cards, 4 of us numerologists are actually writing a book at the moment to help that layer of, to help the numerology of the cards, the energy of the cards be more accessible to people than it is at the moment. So
good stuff.
Watch the space.
Watch this space. Daphne, have you got anything that you'd like to share, some words of wisdom or a little tidbit or something?
So one thing that's really topical for me at the moment and the clients that I'm working with is being more committed to your freedom and your future than you are to your past, being willing to let go. We're in a time where lots of what we thought was right isn't anymore. And we're at a real period of change in the world, and that being less attached to the past than you are and more committed to the future, and your freedom in amongst that and being you. I believe it's a real time for us as magical women with gifts to share with the world to really come forward and own those and be willing to share them. Because the more we do that, the more we help women, the more we help women, the more we help women, and the ripples go out further and further. And that, I believe, is what our world needs at the moment, and
absolutely,
what is being called for.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Definitely, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for sharing with us the insights of numerology. I loved it. It was terrific.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure for me too. Thank you for having me.
Bye for now.
Bye.
You've been listening to Talking with the Experts, hosted by Rose Davidson. Make sure you have a look at our back catalogue over at talkingwiththeexperts.com, and be sure to subscribe to our podcast so you don't miss out on any episode. We look forward to your company next time. Talking with the Experts.